want to thank everybody who's been with me, my Xbox clan.
When Kobe's going back to play Madison Square Garden, and he's like, hey, hook me up with dinner with Heath Ledger.
Like Russell Westbrook, that was a great feat the other day. I couldn't even tweet it out.
It's Coach Frank Vogel here, full of enthusiasm and positive energy.
Ask me what I like to play with Kevin Durant. Ask me about Kyrie Irving, Giannis. Ask me about Embiid, Ben Simmons. Go ahead, all of them.
There was a time when the Israelites were wandering in the desert and all of a sudden bread came down from heaven. That's kind of what today feels like to have KCP join.
Welcome back to Bulls vs. Blazers. Playoff vibe check edition? Is that what we're calling this?
yeah. Game one vibe check.
As always, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, anywhere else you get podcasts. Make sure you subscribe, rate, 5-star reviews. Subscribe to the Patreon. The last Patreon episode, I think, was really good. You should go listen to it. It's $3 a month, patreon.com/BullsVBlazers. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at BullsVBlazers. I'm Sean Highkin. With me, as always, Erik Gundersen. And, we're vibe checking. The vibes are good.
The vibes are great. I mean, come on. Damian, first of all, I mean, the vibes are terrible for the Los Angeles Lakers right now.
The vibes were shot from the beginning today. As soon as they came in with the mocked up MAGA hats that actually said "arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor." Like the Lakers were losing that series as soon as they did that.
I could not believe that was what they went with. Like there have been so many great, tasteful, tributes to for there to be justice for Breonna Taylor
and George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and all these other people who are, the ones who have kind of been the symbols of this movement.
Yeah. And for, to stop police brutality and for Black Lives Matter. And the Lakers came as a squad, as LeBron's teams are wont to do, everyone had the same hat that was like a red MAGA knockoff. And it's just never.
It wasn't even a knockoff. It was not even just a knockoff. Like, it was an actual MAGA hat, but the "great again" part was crossed out and it said "Make America Arrest the Cops that Killed Breonna Taylor."
Which, okay, yes, that we can all agree.
Yes, arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor. Yes,
but there's literally a bajillion ways that they could have gone with that message and it not invoked the MAGA hat.
So there's two problems with this. One is just the obvious, the parody of the MAGA hat is just never the move because, it's just one of those things where, if you don't look closely at it, you think it's the real thing. And obviously, nobody thinks LeBron is going to be wearing a MAGA hat because we know how he feels about the president. But it's just, you just don't want. It's literally the same thing as if somebody was using Nazi imagery to talk about be against anti-Semitism. It's the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's once that thing has gone that way, it's like red hats are just not red hats with white writing or just they're not happening.
No.
It's just not a thing. And LeBron went down with the ship too after the game. He wore it in his post-game presser.
It's like how when there's a blowout and then the coach will make this coach of the losing team will make the starters just play the rest of the game and just make them wear it. That's kind of what LeBron had to do with the MAGA Breonna Taylor hat, so that was my first part of it. It was just the parody MAGA hat is just not usually the way to go. But then also just anytime there is any of those tweets that are they start off as a joke format or a meme or a common Twitter thing and end with "arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor" as a gotcha thing. That shit has always just been so tacky to me, and just tasteless.
And it's a meme. You're turning her murder into a meme.
Yeah, I don't like it. I've never liked it, and I've never really been that vocal about saying I don't like that because I feel as a white guy, it's not really my place to say oh, I don't think this is the right way to bring attention to this cause. I'm fully aware of that, but something about that just never really sat right with me. And I also just feel LeBron is normally so good at this stuff, and he's so smart about how to approach this stuff that this was just a misfire. And I was kind of blown away that LeBron didn't kind of see what the backlash would be and actually greenlit it.
I know. Well, and obviously nobody on the Lakers said no, but after the game, Anthony Davis wasn't wearing the hat. Kuzma turned it around backwards in the post-game press conference. So LeBron was wearing it after the game, but I don't think anybody else wants to wear that fucking hat ever again.
I mean, who's gonna tell him no? It's just like how when he does the taco, like the crazy like Mexican accent with the Taco Tuesday, nobody's really gonna tell him, hey, you probably should tone that down a little bit. Like, what are you gonna tell LeBron that his thing isn't good?
Yeah, exactly. You can't. And maybe the only person that could have said anything was Anthony Davis, but in that situation, it was not going to happen. And I mean, as soon as I saw that, I was like, I started cringing. I was like, they were inducing very real cringe vibes. And it's like, man, there's something about the Lakers in this series, man, with this, and then it's like, well, they're going to bring the Kobe uniforms out if they win, and then they change it, and it's like, it seems like
they did their scouting report on the Blazers and realized that they might not get to wear the Kobe jerseys if they were only going to do it in the second round. That's what happened.
Yeah, and they were right. The scouting was correct, and Nike maybe influenced it. Like, you can't ruin Mamba Week for us by not getting to the second round.
You know what? I'm already preparing for if the Lakers win the title, there are going to be certain media members who are going to go on certain, popular daytime talk shows with a straight face and argue that this actually counts as Kobe's sixth ring because his spirit guided them to the title. Like, that's 100% going to happen.
Oh, 100%. But listen, man, Portland, okay, the Lakers obviously did not play well. They did not shoot the ball well, but they haven't shot the ball well at all in the bubble. First of all, this game tonight is just indicative of the problems that they've had throughout all the seeding games. Like, nobody hit a three. LeBron and AD have to do everything. And then Anthony Davis had his worst shooting game, 8 for 24. He couldn't get.
Speaking of Mamba Week.
Yeah, exactly, right? Can you see the symbols? 8, 24. But it is also like, man, ever since I saw that thing about them bringing out the jerseys, like, I was just like, uh-oh. I felt bad about it. Like, it just like, obviously it's a great gesture, but like, hanging all this stuff on Kobe for the team to do, like, is pretty unfair.
Well, remember, there are some people who voted for LeBron for MVP because Kobe died. Like, that is actually a thing that, like, legitimate media members who have MVP ballots have made the argument for.
It did mean a lot to a lot of people. I will say that. But they're in trouble, dude. Like, they threw the kitchen sink at Dame. They double teamed not only Dame, they would double CJ. They're like, get the ball out of CJ's hands. And anytime it was CJ on the floor without Dame, and it was like, Gary Trent Jr. hit 1 3-pointer. It didn't come until the very end of the game. Melo hit a couple, and he honestly didn't have a very good game either. Portland lived at the foul line for most of this game, and if I'm them, I have to feel pretty good. Like, this is the lowest scoring total they've had in a win all season.
You and I were texting back and forth during the fourth quarter of this game. And at one point, once the Lakers had taken the lead and it looked like Portland was just falling apart, this was like maybe shortly into the fourth quarter, I texted you and I said that if the Blazers lose this game, it's going to be a sweep. And I still believe that would have been true, because I just feel like you cannot, when you have all of the Lakers shooting this badly, and you have a game where like Anthony Davis isn't very good. Like, how many times is that going to happen in a series? Like, you had to get this game. And I heard the TNT announcers talking about, well, the Blazers have to feel great about this, whatever happens with this game. And I was just like, no, you have to get this game if you're them. And they did. So now I feel a little bit differently about the series.
Yeah, I mean, they got it. And listen, the Lakers 3-point shooting has been an issue for the whole season. They're 21st in overall 3-point percentage. They are 23rd in 3-point attempts, so they don't get up a lot relative to the rest of the league. And I mean, Kyle Kuzma was probably their best 3-point shooter coming into this, and he was 1 for 5, and they really needed him to get going, and they just couldn't get anything going. I mean, Danny Green 2 for 8. Him and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope go a combined 4 for 21 from the field. Like, and their guards have been a disaster. And Rondo is medically cleared. They didn't play. They played waiters a total of 1 minute tonight. So I think that shows us how Frank Vogel feels about waiters. They need Rondo back ASAP.
I'll bet he plays game 2.
Yeah. Yeah, but they need him more for their offense, I think, than their defense. And if Portland's offense gets going, we could be looking at 2-0. Like I know that the Lakers played poorly today, but like this has been it in the bubble. And what if no home court, no fans, the lack of kind of energy that you would have with home court advantage, that maybe you would boost them in a situation like this, especially after Kobe's death, is just not there. And it's really hard for them. I mean, LeBron was amazing, but they have got to make 3-pointers. And I think Portland did a great job of making Anthony Davis and LeBron work for everything that they got in this game.
It kind of reminds me, just the vibe around the Lakers, of the beginning of the Nash Dwight year, when they lose all 8 of their preseason games, and then they go like 1-5 at the beginning of the regular season, and we're all just like, oh, they'll be fine. They're so talented. There's no way they're not going to turn this around. Like LeBron's first year in Miami, they got off to a bad start too. Like they'll be fine, and then they just were never fine.
I know, and this is what I'm worried about for the Lakers, is that like, and I think Portland has a very good chance to take advantage of this, at least in this series. Is just like, the Lakers have no offensive juice outside of LeBron and AD. Like, they had Caruso taking pull-up 3-pointers down the stretch of this game. And it's like, if I'm Portland, I want Caruso and KCP and all those guys taking all the shots. Like, and obviously LeBron and AD are going to do what they do. And LeBron had a monstrous stat line, triple-double, 16 assists. Amazing game from him. But he has to, like, the Blazers finishing 5, and then tonight Whiteside was basically an additional extension of that. They were solid, and it's like, you can sell out on Dame all you want, but having Nurkic there and then also having Melo and GT, like, it's not as easy to just be like, all right, we're going to trap Dame and we're going to win this game. It's not that easy anymore.
I'm just going to give you an opportunity as the Hassan Whiteside Respecter, as your name is on Twitter, to just take a little bit of a victory lap here.
Listen, I went probably a little far saying that he was going to start, but he ended up playing more minutes than Wenyen and Gabriel, which is all that matters. And he was phenomenal tonight. 5 blocks, 3 of them in the fourth quarter, or 2 of them, 2 big ones in the fourth quarter. And he had 7 points only. He was 1 for 4 at the line, which he's actually been a pretty decent free throw shooter. So that was uncharacteristic for him. And Portland as a whole shot pretty uncharacteristically from the free throw line and left a lot of points out there for, I think, the second best free throw shooting team in the league. But Hassan was, I mean, this is why I believed him in this matchup, because you have a bunch of big guys. They love to play big. Anthony Davis doesn't want to play center. And even when he does, like, Whiteside is one of the few guys that can make him double clutch. And LeBron had one play in transition where he attacked Whiteside and just like aborted and had to look for Kuzma, and it turned into a turnover. Portland has 2 centers now on the court at all times, and that is a really good match with the Lakers, who also like to do that a lot.
Terry said that he was going to start Wenyen still, so it might just be kind of a Tom Thibodeau with Keith Bogan situation where Wenyen Gabriel starts, and then Whiteside still like plays all the important minutes.
Dude, Wenyen was awesome.
He was all right.
He picked up, he had 5 fouls, but like, he did a good job to not pick up his 6th. And I felt like he made Anthony Davis work really hard for his points. And I think his quickness kind of messed AD up a little bit, and getting into his dribble and being physical with him. And obviously, I'm not saying Wenyen Gabriel's the AD stopper, but I think he disrupted.
He is 2-0 against AD.
This is true. He's 2-0 against AD all career as a starter.
Maybe the dialogue needs to start about whether he is the AD stopper.
Man, I maybe we should start it here. But in all seriousness, Gabriel was great. He got a dunk early in the game. Like, his energy is just a welcome addition to this Blazers team. And against the Lakers, who the Blazers just do not have a lot of long, athletic defenders that can guard on the wing. And, Gabriel can switch on to LeBron James if he needs to in a pinch. And I thought that he was great. And, even if Collins comes back, I don't know how you can take Wenyen out of the lineup with what he gave you in this game. And he also doesn't take shots that he doesn't need to take. He just he's only taking dunks basically. Like he's like the perfect fourth guy for a lineup that has, 4 other guys that are really good offensive players.
Yeah, if you're Terry Stotts, you got to just keep rolling with exactly the rotation that you have now until it starts not working, because it worked pretty well tonight. So the Blazers vibes could not be better. The Lakers vibes could not be worse. So we should probably move on and do some other vibe checks.
Milwaukee, Orlando. Let's stay on the 1-8.
Oh my God.
Milwaukee's vibes terrible. Brook Lopez attacking a chair in the first quarter of this game.
He thought it was a mascot.
Yeah, maybe. But they got their asses kicked by the Magic.
You know what? I could see this being a thing where, you know how until yesterday when Toronto beat Brooklyn, the thing with Toronto was always, Toronto's always bad in game ones. They always lose game ones.
Right.
Well, the Magic last year beat Toronto in game 1 of their series, and then Toronto went on to win the title. So I could totally see the game 1 Magic being like the inverse of the game 1 Raptors, where the Raptors always lose. I could see the Magic just always winning game 1s as like a thing in this new era. Like that's just some energy that I could see manifesting.
Perhaps, but Brook Lopez got his butt kicked by Vucevic in this game. Vucevic had 35 and 14, 4 assists, 5 3-pointers. Markelle Fultz getting his first playoff start.
That's cool.
15.6 assists in the W, like hit a 3. F the haters from Markelle Fultz, like middle fingers to the world. I love that shit. That was awesome.
Nikola Vucevic is one of the premier guys in the league that people forget is a bucket because he plays for the Magic, and so nobody like pays attention to him. But
right.
He's good.
Yeah, no, people do forget that Vooch is a bucket, and an improbable win. I mean, the way that they got back in transition in this game, I watched most of that game this morning, and they formed a fucking wall. Shout out to Stan Van Gundy. Like
was Stan calling this game? This is the one that I didn't watch.
No, he was not calling this game. But shout out to Stan, because he's the one that brought that to our lexicon to form a fucking wall. And they did, like almost every time down. Like Giannis still had 31 points, 17 rebounds, 7 assists. Like he's still amazing, and you can't slow him down. But I mean, they made him work for it. He had 5 turnovers. Like it was not easy. And then Middleton was also just terrible, and so was Bledsoe. Like Bledsoe's, I don't know what happens to him in the playoffs. His confidence just shrinks. I don't know what it is. Like it just disappears.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like the opposite of playoff Rondo. There's playoff Bledsoe, because like Rondo in the regular season looks pretty washed most of the time, and then is incredible in the playoffs. Bledsoe is like, Bledsoe's like a borderline all-star type of like season this year. Yeah. And then he just completely disappears in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. It really is the inverse of playoff Rondo. So Bucks vibes are bad. They got their butts kicked in this game.
They'll be fine. They're going to win in 5. I'm not worried about them yet.
They will be fine. Let's just stay
that Miami matchup in the second round might be tough though.
Yeah, Miami looked good today.
Yeah.
Even though they fell behind early, the way they closed that game, Jimmy Butler just came up and put his nuts on the table and was like, "This is over." Like he hit 2 huge threes, his only 2 threes of the game.
I've seen him do that many times.
Yeah, and I mean he did it, and I thought TJ Warren actually had a pretty good game. Oladipo goes out early in the game. He got poked in the eye, went to the hospital. Tyler Hero also comes in and closes the game instead of Duncan Robinson, which was a shock. And then they also started Dragic today over Kendrick Nunn, who got a DNP.
He's probably just getting back in shape because he got the Amazon Prime quarantine.
Maybe, or it's the playoffs and they've been, managing Dragic's minutes the whole season, and they've been waiting for this moment because he's way better than Kendrick Nunn.
You know what? Do you remember? I forgot about this until today, but remember over the summer when the Heat almost traded Dragic to Dallas, but Dallas just didn't want to take on the money. Like they literally could have gotten Dragic for free, but they just didn't want to take on that money. So how much would Dragic help the Mavs right now?
They'd probably win that game yesterday.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, Porzingis getting ejected, like, that ruined the game for them, basically.
That was just a joke. And by the way, just like across the board, like, I get, okay, yes, like, by the letter of the law, yes, both of those technicals on Porzingis were legit, but, like, they're also both things that you could easily let go. And I just feel like across the board, officiating has been atrocious in the playoffs.
Yeah, and Paul George also got a really crappy, cheap tech in that game as well, just for reacting to a play. And it's like, these guys are already up against it, you know, in terms of their, like, personal life. Like, they've uprooted their entire, like, lives. Like, if you can't let them show emotion on the basketball court, like, what is the point? Like, I just don't understand that. And I mean, Dragic definitely would have helped the Mavs, and obviously he has chemistry with Luka from their Slovenian national team days. But I mean, I think Indiana, like I said this on the Patreon pod, I just think Indiana's overmatched in this series, as great of a regular season story as they've been. I don't think they have the horses, especially without Sabonis, to make this interesting, really. Especially
with it now that Oladipo might be day to day. They just, I went into this series thinking Miami was more talented, and it just, they are. Like, it's not even close.
Speaking of what we thought was going to happen, but did not happen today, the Rockets absolutely demolishing your Oklahoma City Thunder in game 1.
This is a rough look for my Thunder. It's not good. I mean, I still believe, because I mean, Eric Gordon went off today, and I don't know if that's necessarily going to be repeated, but
Jeff Green had 22 off the bench.
Jeff Green has one good playoff game every year, so he kind of got that out of the way.
Yeah,
remember he had that game 7. Was it the Celtics series the year he was on the Cavs?
Yep. Yeah, he had like 18 in that game, and like hit a bunch of corner threes to close it out.
Yeah, I mean, he has his one good playoff game a year. I still believe the Thunder can win that series, but yeah, the Rockets look really good today, and like I could see them if they win this series. I could see them. I mean, I think they could. I mean, obviously, if Portland wins the 1-8 series, they could easily beat Portland. Like, I think that would be an interesting series. But like, do you think that the Lakers, after what we saw tonight and what we've seen in the bubble, do you think the Lakers would definitely beat Houston in a series? Because I don't. No,
I mean, I don't think they're going to definitely beat Portland. I mean, the Lakers look bad right now, and like the Rockets put up 123 points. The Lakers have, like, I think their highest scoring game in the bubble has been like 118. Especially given the offense that we've seen in the bubble. I don't think they could keep pace with the Rockets, especially if they have Russ. I mean, they didn't have him today, and I'm not going to say that like they're better with Russ or better without Russ, but they would need him in a series against the Lakers. Obviously, they didn't have Lou Dort. The Thunder didn't, and they really like him for guarding James Harden, and that's kind of how he earned his spot in the rotation.
So one team doesn't have Lou Dort, and the other team doesn't have Russell Westbrook. So that's basically a wash.
Basically.
That reminds me of there was this Jim Boylan quote from, the God, obviously, like we already talked about him on the Patreon pod, which you should go subscribe to and listen to. But the God, Jim Boylan, just keeps on giving. It just reminded me this quote from this season where they lose to the Clippers in Chicago, and the Clippers, they get blown out by the Clippers in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And the Clippers, I think it was like a game where like Kawhi and like Beverly, it was like 3 or 4 of like the Clippers guys were sitting. And after the game, someone asks Boylan, "Hey, how disappointed are you, about losing to the Clippers without Kawhi and without Kawhi and like Montrezl, or like, without whoever like they were without?"
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Yeah, well, we didn't have Shaq Harrison or Ryan Arcidiacono, so you can say what about that to us too."
Oh my God. Yo, dude, we have breaking news. Remember that guy who was talking about the guy that works with Kyle Kuzma, allegedly, that started saying that like we see who been working on their bag after the Christmas game?
About like taking shots at LeBron.
Yeah, he just dropped year 17, no mid-range jumper. So I bet Kuz is going to be hearing it from LeBron pretty soon. Like,
oh my
dude,
God. Do you
you're
remember
trouble in paradise, bro? Trouble at the Gran Destino.
the real Lakers of Los Angeles this season is heating up. Do you remember that shoot around, like, right? Because they were in Portland, like, right around the time that happened.
Oh, yeah. No, dude, it was the next game.
Yeah. And, like, the beat writers, like, asked LeBron about this. And he says, like, he gives, like, the diplomatic answer on the record. He's like, yeah, I wish that guy the best. And then the mics get turned off and LeBron's like, actually, I don't wish that motherfucker the best. Which is just one of the funniest things I've ever been around.
Yeah, no, it was classic, dude. LeBron, I mean, I know LeBron is not happy about that shit, especially when Kuz went 5 for 14. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, tell your boy to calm down. Like, you went 5 for 14 and 1 for 5 from 3. Like, and CJ was hunting you on defense. Like,
LeBron went out on a limb to get Kuzma not included in the Anthony Davis trade with their other young guys because Kyle Kuzma had dinner with Kobe once and Jeannie Buss thought that he had the most Mamba mentality out of the young guys. And this is how he repays LeBron.
Yeah, nice job, Kuz. One-way ticket to some cold-ass city, probably, if they lose this series. I mean, let's be real. Like,
I don't know.
What else can they do, though? Like, I mean, how else are they going to make this team better? Like, Anthony Davis is a free agent. Like, I don't know what they're going to do. They got it. But also, at the same time, like, who the fuck is going to trade for Kuz? And give up something of value.
Are we starting to have the dialogue about Anthony Davis's free agency? If they lose in the first round, like, is he definitely going to? I mean, I think he's probably going to stay, but is he definitely going to stay?
I mean, I think we have to start a dialogue.
I realize that there wasn't the clutch factor with this situation, but even as bad as the Lakers Dwight season went, I thought for sure Dwight was going to stay with the Lakers until he actually went to Houston.
Yeah, man. I mean, and also it's like, I mean, KCP and Danny Green, like, those are your guys for the next year. Like, those guys signed 2-year deals. Like, that was the whole thing. Like, they were going to be like 2-year deals. We're going to play this year and the next year, and then we'll re-up after that. And it's like, I mean, if you really can't get better at the guard spot, like, what are they? I mean, obviously they're not going to get like anybody, like, all the big guys that could have been traded have been traded. Like, Bradley Beal just signed an extension. He's not getting traded. I mean, and
even if he was getting traded, what the hell do the Lakers have to trade? Like,
yeah, they gave up everything.
Which, I mean, you give up everything for Anthony Davis. I understand that, but like, they don't have anything to trade to add another guy, and they're other guys. I want to take. Can I take sort of a victory? Can I take a half victory lap for my takes on the Lakers from the summer?
I mean, you said they weren't going to make the playoffs.
I did say they weren't going to make the playoffs, but
but I also said the Blazers were going to win the championship, and they're the 8th seed.
But my point that the Lakers aren't very good, I think, is maybe looking more coherent than it did maybe when they were the 1 seed this season. They might just not be that good.
No, I mean, I think it's a realistic possibility. I mean, their defense was really good in the regular season, but I thought Portland did a good job of like running multiple actions at them and like using their kind of help against them to create openings. And even though Portland didn't shoot very well tonight, I liked their offensive attack for the most part. And I mean, yeah, the Lakers just don't look very good. Like, Danny Green and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope were terrible tonight. Like, period.
Pretty much every Laker except for, I mean, even Anthony Davis wasn't very good, but anybody outside of those two was just not giving them anything tonight.
And Caruso's like the big hope, and like, he did bring energy and he had 3 steals, 3 assists, he had some energy plays, but he had 2 points. Like, that guy can't get buckets at an NBA level the same way that, like, you know, the 5 guys closing the game for Portland can. Like, all 5 of those guys can score, and he's Caruso. Like, he's just not a scorer. He's an energy guy defender. Like, it's just not what he's built to do. And I mean, they really, we already said this, but they really, really, really need Rondo, because like, what are they going to do? Hand it over to Dion and see what happens?
JR didn't play at all tonight, did he?
No, but like, I don't know what can they do? Like, what can they really do?
It's rough because the Lakers had these open roster spots when guys opted out, and they just used both of them on LeBron's buddies from Clutch, and neither of them are doing anything.
I mean, I guess they could have gone the Blazers route and gotten Jalen Adams, you know.
There was like somebody from the G League you could pull out that would be more productive than Dion Waiters has been.
Yeah, they could have gotten some other type of guard who can do something. And then, you know, Lakers fans, bless their heart, are like, well, what if we try Taylor Horton-Tucker? And it's like, okay, guys, you're going to bring a rookie, you know, who barely has played.
Like
who's
a two-way guy.
Yeah, it's just like, come on, guys. Like, just because he's a guard doesn't mean he's going to be the guy to come in and play Lillard. And I mean, I heard this from multiple people be like, well, Caruso's going to come in. He's just going to bother Lillard. Like, what happened? He had 34 points. Like, Caruso came in. He ripped off like 15 straight as soon as Caruso came in the game in the first quarter. They don't have anybody that can handle Dame.
Did you saw the Steph Curry tweet, right?
Oh yeah, the ones because Kenny Smith was wilding. Like,
yeah,
Kenny Smith was like, Steph, I don't know if you could do this, pull up from 40 feet. Like, we've seen Steph pull up from deep. Like,
Steph invented that.
Yeah, I mean, Lillard perfected it, I would say, because Lillard just shoots from way deeper more than Steph does. But
I don't know. I think people are forgetting that prime Steph Curry was a hashtag problem steam face emoji. He's been hurt the whole year. I think people are kind of forgetting that.
Okay. I'm just saying, like, people have run the numbers on like the 35 plus footers, and like Dame shoots them at a higher volume than anybody in the league. Like, it's just like he just shoots them more. Not to say that Steph can't, but like, but anyway, Steph getting mad at Kenny Smith was another another residual effect of this game was. And also this whole Dame run really has just been like everyone like doing Steph revisionism, and it's like, can we just talk about how good Dame is right now? Like, instead of being like, well, I don't know, Steph Curry can do this.
Yeah, like it's some SME for sure from Steph, who does not need to have SME because A, he plays in a huge market, and B, he's won 3 championships and is like one of the 10 greatest players of all time probably at this point.
Yeah,
and B, like, this is literally Kenny Smith giving him license to say, but I was told Steph Curry wasn't a good shooter. Shout out to the Kill a Cow tweet. Like, this is really like, and I kind of had made a point before the game started that, because remember there was the Dame interview today with Marcus Thompson where he was like, I don't need anybody to respect me. I just know it. And it's like, I was kind of making the point that at this point, with how much people are talking about Dame, him still doing the nobody respects me thing is a little bit like when LeBron said, it's a little bit like doth protest too much, like LeBron doing the Wash King thing. But then Steph comes in and just blows him out of the water with the SME.
Yeah, it's like, and Lillard also is just like, unlike Steph and LeBron, like, he hasn't won anything yet. Like, people that realistically are underrating him because he just hasn't won anything. He hasn't gone to the finals or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, so like, that's just always going to be there. But I mean, he is amazing, and just like what he's doing and the way he's like contorting the defenses that are coming against him is just insane. Like, the Lakers honestly did like a pretty good job of forcing the ball from his hands, but like, it's not that simple anymore to just be like, well, we're just going to trap Dame and they're not going to score. Like, it's not as simple as it was last postseason even. So just because they have a lot of more offensive weapons, I think the vibe check should continue though. I would say let's start with Philly Boston. The
Philly vibes are they're going to get swept and Brett Brown's going to get fired the next day. Like, that's kind of where I'm at with them. I know they kept that game close,
and Hayward's hurt.
Yeah. Maybe they get a game, but Philly looks like they're just checked out, and like Brett Brown is not running any like it's like the opposite of the, like, I forget who made this point, but somebody made the point that the Embiid post up thing is like the opposite of the Dwight post up thing, where everybody was saying, oh, well, Dwight needs to post up more, and he's not actually that good at it. With Embiid, it's like he needs to post up more because they're like unbeatable when he does that, and he just never does it, and it's like the easiest thing to get them points, and they just can't. Like, he can't do it. I think Brett Brown like knows he's getting fired. He's just kind of over it at this point.
I think also too, it's just a byproduct of like where we are in the league. Like, it's just harder to run your sets for a post up. It takes more time. You've got to have an entry pass. You've got to really run those plays, and it's just like, that's not where the league is right now. And it's like, when you feel like the shot clock is running down, Tobias Harris or Josh Richardson probably feels like they're going to be, it's either they shoot the ball or they have a turnover trying to pass the ball to Embiid in the post. And because with Simmons, maybe this is a series, but like, they looked so overmatched, even though they did make it a game in game one.
Man, it's rough. So now, where are we back? So with the vibe, I mean, so Boston's fine. I mean, they're not going to get past the second round. Hayward's out, and like, they're not going to beat Toronto in the second round. Like, that's just,
Yeah, I mean, I think with Hayward they would have had a chance, but I
think Toronto's winning the title.
I mean, right now they're the most complete team. I mean, they absolutely worked Brooklyn. And the Clippers really, I think the other really complete, the other really complete team that as far as we've seen here. And I mean,
the Clippers, I mean, the Mavs downfall, because I mean, the Porzingis thing was bad, but like if Luka Doncic hadn't had a slogan in Slovenian on the back of his jersey to alienate American viewers, then I think the Mavs would have won that game.
Right, because then they would have known his name is actually Luka Doncic and not equality in Slovenian.
Do we want to talk about that whole thing or
Dude, I don't.
Okay.
Like,
right.
what? There's really nothing to say, bro. Like, it's just like it's a bunch of bullshit concern trolling to pander to conservatives who already don't watch the NBA.
Yeah. Okay. Well, whatever. We acknowledge that it existed. So yeah. We don't need it. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, we just talked about Dallas and the Clippers. Brooklyn neutral.
Yeah. No. I never. I mean, They came back a little bit. Toronto was up by like 30 in the first half. Toronto, they came back a little bit. They kind of had a fake comeback, but
yeah, it was down to like 8, I think.
I wasn't expecting them to have any real shot in this series, and they've already been one of the most fun teams in the bubble. So I mean, they're fine. I'm not going to dock their vibes if they get swept. It's fine.
Yeah. Utah.
Toronto's doing amazing.
Yeah, Toronto's vibes. I mean, the championship vibes. From the Raptors, and they look like a well-oiled machine. Even though Siakam isn't playing very well offensively, they're still kicking butt. So, maybe if he gets going, then that's even better. They had the families do the presentation of the lineup. So shout out to their families as always.
Shout out to their families. That was really cool.
Yeah, no, it was. And then the last series we just haven't talked about is Utah and Denver. I mean, I don't know how you could have a worse vibe than Donovan Mitchell scoring 57 points in a loss.
Yeah, we're still, the Jazz are still not really being respected here. That's just.
Yeah, I mean, he had an 8-second violation that was a killer in the fourth quarter.
And then it was an 8-second violation, but then I saw like Jazz Twitter like getting mad at the call. So
right,
they're staying on brand,
of course. And so. Yeah, and Jordan Clarkson, I thought, he did well off the bench. Ingles looked pretty good. They started someone named Jawan Morgan, who I've never heard of.
Was that the guy that they signed after the G League showcase that like all of the national guys were like reporting, like sources say that he was the most impressive guy at the G League showcase?
Yeah, that's the guy. Same guy. He's a plus 17.
Good for him.
Yeah.
It's always cool when a guy like that comes out of nowhere and is like a playoff start. It's kind of like Wenyen Gabriel, honestly.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, just guy comes out of nowhere and all of a sudden he's starting. Mike Conley is in the Amazon Prime quarantine now. He's back in the bubble. So probably he's not going to be there for game 2, but maybe for game 3, which will definitely help just to have another playoff caliber player that has performed at that level. And as far as Denver is concerned, Jamal Murray looked great down the stretch. Jokic is obviously good as hell always, but we've heard a lot about the Blazers defense in the bubble and not as much about the Nuggets having the worst defense in the bubble.
Yeah, it has not been good. And also the Michael Porter thing maybe ran out a little bit.
Yeah, he started off really hot, hit a couple big shots, and then just completely cooled off in the game down the stretch. And Millsap has just been... was just not good in the game either.
He might be washed.
Yeah. They might be needing to play a lot more Jeremy Grant in that spot. Jeremy Grant played great, 40 minutes, 19 points. Monty Morris also had a nice game. They're still without all those guys. They're without Harris at Barton in particular, but judging by the way the Jazz are playing with, an undermanned group that's just not very good right now, I think I think Denver still wins this one in 5.
Yeah, and then I don't think they're going to be able to beat the Clippers in the second round.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, maybe if they can get a little extra punch with Barton, maybe coming off the bench, but still, they're going to be overmatched against the Clips.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's our vibe check for the bubble, but we also have some vibe checks with Love and Hip Hop Sacramento, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, Love and Hip Hop Sacramento has already had kind of a big week. where, we got, Anjali World became the temporary new GM. She hasn't gotten the full-time job yet, but Vlade stepped down, and today they hired a search firm to find the permanent replacement for Vlade, which...
Just write us a check, Vivek. Jesus.
Yeah, I'll just be like, yeah, I can think of some assistant GMs on different teams that you should like... That's just one of those, that's such a productive scam if you can pull it off. If you can, convince people that, hey, we're a search firm, we can get you the right candidates, when it's okay, everybody knows who all the GM candidates are. Joe Dumars is going to end up probably just keeping the job for himself anyway.
Right.
It's gonna be like when George W. Bush was finding, trying to pick a vice president, and Dick Cheney was leading the committee that was helping to vet the VP candidates, and then he ended up picking himself. That's going to be how it goes with Joe Dumars working with his search firm to pick the to pick the next GM of the Kings. Unless they're going to give it to Anjali World permanently, which is what I think they should do. It's not going to be it's going to be Joe Dumars probably.
Yeah.
Although I saw the beat writer for the Sacramento Bee had a tweet today where he said a bunch of names of guys who are going to be in the mix, and it's all just kind of your usual assistant GMs who are usually interviewing for these types of jobs, and one of them was Danny Ferry. So we're going to have a race relations plotline maybe on Love and Hip Hop Sacramento, which I'm pretty excited about.
Very relevant to the current times as well. I mean, you have to hand it to the writers at Love and Hip Hop Sacramento for bringing a storyline that's been in our faces for the past few months and really channeling it for their own audience. So shout out to the showrunners at Love and Hip Hop Sac.
Well, Danny Ferry interviewed for the Pelicans job last year when they fired Dell Demps, but and
he
then
lost it to David Griffin.
Well, right, but the day that David Griffin got hired, I remember this. I forget which of the reporters it was. Reported league sources say that Danny Ferry was super impressive in his interview and had a great shot at the job, but he called Gail Benson and told her that David Griffin was the right man for the job. And then 2 minutes later, Woj was reporting that they had agreed on a deal with David Griffin. which I just love it when my favorite scoops are the ones that are sources say this guy had an amazing interview and was in serious consideration for the job. This was the the ones that are because remember when LaMarcus Aldridge was a free agent and he ended up signing in San Antonio, but but then there was sources say Phoenix made a really, really strong impression on him, and they were the strong runner-up, and he seriously considered going there.
Yeah.
He was just blown away by the vision that Ryan McDonough had.
Yeah, just PR for Ryan McDonough. And it's just, he's Phoenix was right there. And wow. No, those are the best when it's they got second place in the thing where there is no second place.
Who knows who was second place? Everybody who met with Kevin Durant in 2016, the Celtics, the Clippers, the Spurs, they all felt like they came in second to the Warriors. But every single one of them is gonna calls up whichever one of these national breaking news guys that they're tight with and says, hey, could you say that our meeting went really well and that we really made a strong impression so that we look good to other free agents? Or it's the same shit that happens with these coaching interviews and these GM interviews that are hey, I want to get another job. So can you say that I was really impressive in this interview? And that's usually whenever you see those reports, that's usually what that is.
Right. It's always setting up something.
Yeah. Because then you get scoops from that same person later on once they get another job.
Right. It's all part of the game. We have game 2s starting tomorrow, which I'm stoked about. Do we have anything else pressing on the Vibe Check docket?
No, I think most of the vibes are pretty stable except for the 1-8s. Other than the 1-8s, everything's kind of gone how we would expect it to.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I had Blazers Lakers going 7, but I did pick the Lakers. I cowered it out.
Yeah, I think neither of us are really willing to just go out on a limb and actually say that we're going to be, because we're not
Charles Barkley.
We're not Charles Barkley, and usually when Charles Barkley predicts something, that makes me feel less confident about it.
Yeah.
But B, we don't want to be seen as homers, and I'm not really a Blazers fan anymore, because I feel like you probably aren't either, because we've both been doing this for so long from like a, in a professional capacity, that the fandom kind of leaves you after a while. But like, we are both based in Portland. We both do write about the Blazers a lot. And so if we come out and say, oh, we think the Blazers are going to win, we're going to be seen as homers.
Totally. One other note from the Blazer game tonight. Damian Lillard hits the 3 to tie the game, and then they started playing Blow the Whistle by Too Short.
Oh, yeah.
And he starts dancing in the fourth quarter like a sociopath. Like, I mean, it's just like, what? Like, who dances in the fourth quarter like this? Like, you just fucking destroyed these guys. Like, Lillard is just, I mean, it's amazing right now, man. I mean, he's MVP of the bubble, MVP of game 1 so far, in my opinion.
He's gonna get the bubble Dior, like the overall bubble Dior.
I'm so impressed with the Blazers, and also, I mean, I guess their defense it was good. I mean, obviously, a lot of people have held the Lakers to a low point total in the bubble so far, but to do it in a playoff game against LeBron and AD after, it's LeBron's first playoff game in 2 years. They got their asses kicked by the Pelicans in 2018, and Nurk too. Like, this is really his second playoff series all time, and for him to deliver with all these things going on, like, this is going to be a fight. And I think they're going to need Rondo. I think they're going to need everything. Like, I think it's going to be going the distance. I really do.
Yeah, probably. So, do we have anything else we need to talk about, or is this kind of
no?
Everything?
No, I think it's. I mean, I don't have anything else to talk about. I mean, great game 1 so far. Great finishes. Unexpected results. I'm looking forward to the rest of these 2 weeks where we basically have a quadruple header every single day.
I kind of did what I usually do at the end of the regular season. I kind of picked my spots with the seeding games. Like, I watched all the big ones, but I wasn't like watching them every single day. And like, if there were some days where like none of them really meant anything, I was like, okay, I'm going to take the day off. But that's because I knew that the next 2 weeks were just going to be wall to wall, just like every single game we have to watch. Like, this is it for the next 2 months. And so, we're kind of getting started. And I think the first weekend really did not disappoint. Like, a couple of the games were, not great, but most of the games were pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, even that Brooklyn, I think the worst game was the OKC Houston game.
Yeah, that one was kind of boring.
Yeah, the Brooklyn Toronto game was at least interesting because the Nets play a fun brand of basketball. Like, they spread it out, they move the ball, like they're fun to watch. And so,
well, it's all just like guys who are like unknown and play hard and don't really have like anything to lose, and so they're just going to go out there like they know they're not beating the Raptors, but they're just going to go out because those guys are also like playing for contracts. Yeah,
exactly. And Karis LeVert, in his case, he's like playing to stay on the team so that KD and Kyrie don't trade him
for Bradley Beal. Yeah,
which, I mean, I don't think that's gonna happen anyway. I think the Wizards.
No, but they're gonna try for it. But
of course. But I mean, if I'm the Wizards, I keep that thing together and try to run it back. If I'm the Wizards, if I'm them, like, especially watching Damian CJ like making these runs, like, if I'm them, it's like emboldens me even more to be like, let's just keep these two guys because they're great.
Yeah, I don't know. So, we'll have, breakdown. I guess, we did the vibe check. We'll probably just kind of play it by ear for the Patreon episode later this week, which, by the way, again, I can't stress this enough. Our Patreon episodes are good. You should go listen to our Patreon episodes. It's $3 a month, which is not that much money. You get an extra episode every single week. Patreon.com/BullsVBlazers. Go do it. We're still on 13, so shout out to all those people. Shout out to our families, our second families, our Patreon families.
Shout out to our Patreon family.
But go join the fun. Like, it's what all the cool kids are doing. There aren't very many cool kids at this point, but it's what all the cool kids are doing. Everybody who's a cool kid is on the Bulls vs. Blazers Patreon.
And you would have known that, the Lakers were in trouble. So
you also debuted the they should play Nurk side take,
which was phenomenal
in the Patreon episode. Which that one's looking pretty good right now.
Third eye open, and the Lakers are in like desperation. Maybe we should bring in Dion Waiters mode, which is like,
you think they might dust off JR?
No, I think JR's along for the ride and for the vibes. I don't think he's going to have any important moments for this Lakers team.
That signing. That was a favor to Rich, probably.
Yeah, and also a favor to JR. Like, I'm sure JR's a good guy to have around for the Team Madden tournament.
Yeah, JR's a good dude. Like, JR's cool. JR brings good vibes with him.
Yeah, I think it's more that to like bring some vibes in than it is to like, because it's like if they brought in some dude from the G League, like LeBron's not going to be that excited. Let's be real.
Right,
like,
but if you're like a team like the Lakers where you have, you know, 2 of the 5 best players in the league, but then you have like no depth elsewhere, like you can't really afford to just waste roster spots on LeBron's friends who don't really have anything left to add.
I mean, going with LeBron's friends and Rich Paul is the only reason they are where they are now. So, I mean, what are you going to do differently? Because you'd be screwed. They would be totally screwed without LeBron and Clutch Sports. Like, they really would. Like, they wouldn't even be in this position to be upset. Like, if it wasn't for them.
Right. But I feel like at a certain point, like once the Anthony Davis thing got done, like you could afford to like say like, sorry, Rich, we're not going to sign J.R. Smith to a minimum contract. We're going to get somebody who can actually still play.
Yeah. Well, they made their bed and they got to get out of it. So we'll see if they can do it. I mean,
the Lakers need some clutch points.
The Lakers need some clutch points, and they need some playoff Rondo, I think, for them to get this offense going, because it's dead in the water right now.
As always, you can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Bulls v Blazers. You should follow us on both of those accounts. Like, we have some good posts on those accounts. Like, I think our posts are good. We don't just like tweet out the episodes. Like the tweets are actually good on those accounts. Like they're kind of tweets that I maybe wouldn't want to send from my regular account, but like they're good tweets.
They're classic tweets.
They're good tweets. You should follow them.
Just like Wenyen Gabriel, the LeBron stopper. Even though,
we called that before anybody else in the media did.
Right. And listen, I also said earlier in the day, Tyler Hero had a great game. Kentucky rookie earlier in the day. Wenyen Gabriel, Kentucky rookie. I'm just saying, open your third eye.
It's interesting. It's just a dialogue that we're starting. We start a lot of dialogues on that account. Also
a dialogue that I'm willing to start. Steph Curry never made a 3-pointer in August.
That is true. I mean, the facts back it up. The metrics back it up. The analytics, are kind of on your side on that one.
Yeah.
But so you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Highkin. Read my stuff at Bleacher Report. Erik, tell everybody where they can check you out.
You can find me on Twitter at Blazer Banter, where I do all my fun posting on Twitter. And you can follow me on Instagram at ErikG503. And you can follow my writing at LeBronWire.usatoday.com, where I'm covering this terrible Lakers offense. And you can read my Blazer writing at blazerbanter.substack.com.
This is a big series for you professionally. You're kind of covering both sides of the series from different angles.
Yeah, I mean, I had to do I did my post immediately after the game for LeBron Wire. After we get off here, I'm going to do a little post for the Blazer Banter pod. So
the pods are good, by the way. I've been listening to them. You guys should listen to those if you're interested in the Blazers.
Yeah, thank you. Short, informative pods and I'll have another one tomorrow. So excited for that, and yeah, great start. And I mean, it couldn't have gone better for the Blazers to start this, and for the 8 seeds, really. I mean, what if we did like a 1999 like super finals where it's the Orlando Portland?
Yeah, I don't know about that one. I think that's probably off the table. I don't think Orlando got their game. Like, that's nice. They're not going to get swept.
Oh my God, dude. Anthony Davis.
What?
Our bench is trying to make up for no crowd. Bro, they're going out sad, bro.
Oh my God.
Did
he say that?
Yeah, dude. And LeBron also talked about the crowd, bro. They're going out so sad.
This is bad,
dude. And
you hate to see it.
LeBron was talking about this during the seating game. He's like, we're dealing with stuff that we never dealt with before. I've never been in a bubble. Blah blah blah.
Well, remember, like before the COVID got to the point that they actually shut the season down, like for the week prior, they had been talking about like, hey, maybe we need to play games without fans. And somebody asked LeBron, and he's like, hell no, I'm not playing with no fans. Like, maybe LeBron knew something.
Yeah, maybe LeBron knew that he needed the juice from the fans, and it's like, I mean, and maybe Anthony Davis needs it too, because they're like, I mean, this is like the vibes were already bad with the fake MAGA hats. Like the vibes just like dropped a notch lower. Like now, I think the Blazers are going to sweep. Yeah, it's getting dire, but we'll talk about this after game 2, which we might be singing a different tune.
Yeah, so we'll have a Patreon episode at some point later this week, probably after like each series has gotten a couple more games in. We've got a little bit more stuff to talk about, but until then, as always, follow, subscribe to the show on whatever your podcast platform is, Apple, Spotify, Google. The next episode is going to be a Patreon episode, so again, listen to the Patreon. The Patreon's good. You should get on the Patreon, and thanks for listening.